Hello, Carol Taylor-Kearney here at Powell Arts, and I'm with Helene Mazur, and we are sitting in front of her beautifully colored piece, and Helene is going to introduce this to us.
Hi. This piece is titled Full Bloom, and it's mixed media collage. And it is made up of a lot of recycled paintings and pieces of paper that I've fallen in love with bits and pieces of things and recombined them and recoupled them into something that I think is sort of interesting.
This is the second time I'm saying this today, but we have been talking, especially when you're talking about Paperswork, there's a lot of putting together and collaging of different components. And so what I said the other day, and the two artists, including this one, were like, no, I said, artists are hoarders. It's just that they actually use what they hoard. That's the difference. And so it's really interesting to see how the different artists use remnants of what they like going on in a specific piece, but didn't feel worked. And then they put it together and it works beautifully.
Right. So it's a whole different process than doing a painting, which I do a lot of. With a painting, it's very planned, and I know what I'm going to be attempting to achieve, and I work towards that, and I make it better, towards that vision. With a collage, it's the exact opposite. You start with a couple of little bits, and you have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah.
I don't go with any master plan or think about it in any way with a certain goal. It just kind of evolves over time, and you kind of know when you get it right as you move things around.
Yeah.
Well, saying that, so you're using this intuitive process to start to put things together. Do you then go back in and try to bring this out or that out, or?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the juxtaposition of two pieces of paper can look totally different depending on the color, the texture, the shape. So moving them around, and then the trick is to be able to relayer them with the right, with the right glues and things like that to get them to do what you want them to do.
Do you start with it? Do you start with the background scene and then you layer on top, or do they happen in tandem, or how do you make those decisions? What does that approach look like?
My inspiration usually is a couple of pieces of paper and with my pieces of paper, they're paintings usually. So there might have been part of a barn or part of a flower in another painting that I just loved that flower, but I hated the painting. So I'm cutting out the building. I said, I'm going to use this in something else. And then, if I look at it against, a dark green set of trees, it just pops. And it was a totally different setting in the painting that I did it. And it's just fun to kind of see what works. It's really,
it's really contextual. You're creating context for these other elements, which is
really makes that yellow house really glows against, I know it's a contrast of values, but it's also that contrasted color that Joseph Albers talks about. And that yellow, which I'm sure is a similar yellow to other yellows that are used here, it changes it completely.
Right. And it's different, I think, than a lot of the other collage artists, because my it's based in some realism. It's not totally abstract.
I was going to ask you about that.
You see this scene here with flowers and a path and a house and a field out in the back that's lit up. And I think that comes from all my years of plein air painting.
Yeah.
And all my, my standing there in a field with the sun setting or the sun rising and the flowers happening.
Yeah.
So, I think it's very rooted in reality, even though it's sort of an abstract design here.
Well, there's something also really interesting about the layering in that the way that you've chosen to, you really, the flowers spring forward because of the way, and I think is that a butterfly or a crocus in the dead center in yellow?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a couple of different media in here too.
Yes, and it's so interesting because it, and we were actually talking to a person who does watercolor mixed media collaging, but his are abstract. And we were talking about what's neat is because they have different opacities and materiality, what comes forward and what draws back, and how it all integrates together and creates a really nice depth and interplay between the pieces.
Right. So mine are not all watercolor here. There's actually oil paintings cut up in here.
Yeah.
Some of that is oil. Some of this is on paper. Some of it was actually on canvas. And some of it is actually some, tissue paper kind of material. So it's a lot of different materials.
Yeah. And they all have different opacities and the way that the texture looks, and they reflect light and absorb light differently. And it gives a really nice depth.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
I'd like you to talk a little bit about the composition because when a viewer comes in to look at this,
Right.
where do you want them drawn? How do you want them to move through it? And what was your thinking as you were doing this composition? Because the composition is incredibly strong. These are all papers, and there has a tendency for that to become flat, especially in something like collage. And this has such depth.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I didn't really have a master plan. It sort of evolved. The thing probably that started the painting was the house and the tree. And then of course I had all these fun papers, and like you said, everybody has their collections of stuff. So, I picked out a couple of really strong flowers that I had and I cut them out and I just worked it and, obviously, the light way in the back there in the field is something that always attracts me because it adds like a depth to it.
yeah, it brings your eye to that location.
And I'm always attracted to that in real life. When I see something that's lit up and, when you're painting, you're always looking for the light. So, and, the sky is always kind of fun also because, it's so multi-layered and multicolored in life when you look up and collage is a really great medium to be able to, try and attack that.
Well, you said that you had been using some tissues and tissue paper, and
Thank you.
can really see it.
You can really see tissue paper.
So you can really see that, and you catch some of the things that, as painters, we notice that happen in skies. Everyone thinks the sky is blue, or sky is blue with white clouds, and you've picked up some of the little edges where land meets sky, and you'll get that little bit of green, or you'll get that little bit of orange or red or pink.
Right. You need a place for your eye to rest also. So there's a lot of busy in the front, and there's some more calm where you can just let your eye go and relax a little bit for a minute.
So do you work when you're working with collage or like oil or just in general, when you're working, do you work in series? Do you work in bodies of work? Do you work in whatever is moving you in the moment? How does that kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, I spent this winter painting a lot of paintings from a trip I did out west in the fall. We went to Colorado and New Mexico, and I did lots and lots of paintings around that theme. Over the summer, I've been part of a couple of plein air competitions, so I've been going locally to all beautiful scenery. I just finished one this past week in Yardley in Newtown.
Oh yeah, which is lovely.
And so I got to know that area and painted a bunch of paintings. I painted 5 and submitted 2 paintings to that event. Sometimes the collage is a totally different thing for me. It's really when I have room to spread out on a giant table and just play. It's like a puzzle. It's like a big puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's kind of really nice to be able to, reuse paintings that, I feel like didn't work for whatever reason and just find it, there's always great spots in a painting, even if the painting is horrible.
It's like like creating an all-star team.
Yeah, it is. It is. And over time, I've started working more on board, so you can't cut those up. So a lot of these are older paintings that.
You know what? Now that you say that, though, I'd really like to see someone try.
Hey, if there's artists out there,
you could do the collage on top of the board and cover up the board, but it's hard to take a piece of.
No, Helene, you've given me an idea. I'm becoming an artist. I'm going to do collages with like 1-inch thick boards. People will be like, "What is this?"
I'm going to ask you a question because in our previous conversation before we would be on the camera, you had said that you have a show coming up in Princeton.
I do. So this is exciting to me.
Everyone.
Thank you. It's a solo show at the Nassau Club. The opening is June 12th, and the public is invited 4 to 6. And the show will actually run through October. So
that's a nice
show.
A nice good.
And the works are for sale.
The works are for sale, and I think it's going to be about 26 pieces, and some of them are larger. And it's a really fun show. I can't wait to show what I've been working on for the past half a year to everybody, and everybody's been so locked up, and now I can show.
Oh, these are so freeing too.
So that is coming up. So that's exciting to me. The whole thing is really exciting to me. This is not my career. This is a second. It's a hobby for me, and it keeps growing and growing. And so
that's how it gets you, though. You get the taste, and then you got to do it.
It's been really nice, having something else to do besides focus on work, which we all focus on work a lot, and it's just it's really helped my right brain, left brain needs, I think.
Yeah. So
Well, it always
Yeah.
makes people
Yeah.
better thinkers, better workers.
Absolutely.
Whether you're a viewer or you're a doer,
Right.
art makes you better.
well, and also it's often a conversation between those two parties. So
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I was wondering, when you see this piece, and of course it's for sale, we want you to come in here and buy it. Where do you see a possible buyer putting this art?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I would put this right over my desk at work and just be able to look out into the garden and the fields and feel like the outside is coming in.
I think that's great.
It could go in the kitchen. It could go in a dining room. And honestly, I think that anywhere you want to have another window in your house to the outdoor
Yeah.
world, this is appropriate.
It brings the
Yeah.
light and nature in. Yeah.
So come bring the light and nature into your house by showing up at Powell Arts and seeing Helene's beautiful piece from August 2nd.
Nope.
Oh, I said August again? June 2nd to August 7th.